Hello, welcome to Astro Action. Thanks for joining me for this video. I've got a big one for you. In fact, this video is entitled Neptune and Pisces, the Big Goodbye. Don't be a slave. What I'm going to do is explore the implications of Neptune's transit through the sign of Pisces from 2012 through the beginning of 2025. We're talking 12-year epic transit for humanity. You might want to keep in mind that in a human lifetime, we will only experience Neptune traversing maybe half of the signs of the zodiac, 4, 5, 6 signs of the zodiac. So each transit of Neptune through a sign represents a very significant opportunity for the evolution of the humanity that is living in those times, presenting very specific challenges mentally, spiritually, and physically, economically, culturally, etc. So we're talking about a 12-year transit of Neptune through its own sign, its dignity in astrology, Pisces, the sign that it has rulership over. Neptune is the Greek or the Roman word for the Greek god Poseidon, the Titan that was given rulership over the oceans. And in this way, we have a lot of connections to the collective unconscious, which unifies all of humanity. Okay. Now, just a quick rundown. I like to think of the water signs as all relating to the collective consciousness or collective unconscious. And we can start with Cancer and say that Cancer rules the collective family consciousness. It is a family sign. So it connects more to those deeper ancestral lineage that we all have. Scorpio would relate to the collective cultural unconscious because it deals with the merging of energies and ideas and the things that we hold together as a collective. And that leaves Pisces to be a collective cosmic unconscious, our connection we have with the entire cosmos, the entire universe. So what we're going to do here today is discuss this transit of Neptune through Pisces that we've all experienced from 2012, which ends in the beginning of 2025. And I'm going to start with just some general thoughts about the archetype of Neptune if you're kind of new to astrology, or just a refresher for you. Neptune as an archetype in the natal chart. Here are some notes that I made in prior years as I meditated on Neptune. Neptune, where it appears, let's say in the natal chart, is an uncertain and nebulous presence. Its truth is only unfolded through time, a lifetime even. It symbolizes a connection to the unseen dimensions of reality, to what is beyond the mundane appearances of reality. And in this way, it finds its best expression through the arts and imagination. Art can be defined as any human activity that requires a high level of precision and preparation in order to make our nebulous and unformed inner visions clear and communicative. Without this balancing ability for precise craft, the Neptune factor remains limited to visionary inspiration. It remains only vague and ungraspable, non-transferable, enigmatic experience. Neptune can take many years for its role in the personality and in one's life to become clear. And this is reflected mainly through the house position in various aspects. Merely stating its house and sign placement, however, does not mean that its personal meaning is understood. This requires more fully developed life, hence a context within which to understand its role. All this difficulty comes from its main influence or tendency to loosen connections, to disengage, any structures to dissolve and disintegrate. But all this seems to be leading towards a connection to something greater, more mysterious, more abstract, more unattainable, more spiritual, more universal. Yet Neptune can never be fully concretized or specified. If it does, it becomes the advent of new religion or ideology or artistic movement, and this is very rare. Now, all this comes with Neptune's tendency for mass delusion and mass hypnosis, even mass destruction, violence or persecution, or martyrdom. And we have many examples of this throughout history. Situations that involve some kind of sacrifice. Traditionally, Neptune and Pisces are connected with a sacrificing of the ego in order to make that big connection to the universe. That's why it's the sign of Christianity and the archetype of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. We can look at the glyph of Pisces as the two fish, as you can see in the symbol in the video here, that are bound together. These two fish, one symbolizes the finite consciousness and one the infinite consciousness, yet they are bound together. Okay. So Neptune manifests as a drive towards mystical connection, which inevitably inverts into the disconnection or destruction of those who do not choose to connect to the dominant form of connection. World history has seen this playing out over and over again. The drama of ideology and persecution. It's strange to think that it is all because of a feeling of connection to the divine. But it is only something as powerful as this that would inspire such oppression, violence, war, and fighting on a large scale. Whereas only driving after material necessities seems to bring small skirmishes. Worldwide domination, on the other hand, is tantamount to a pure madness. And madness is another thing associated with Neptune. Remember, we're talking about Neptune in its own rulership, its own domain, Pisces, its dignity. And Neptune is therefore associated with the 12th house, which connects to hospitals, mental institutions, the goings on in the unconscious generally. And when a feeling of divine connection becomes a disconnection to the material world, we have the lowest level of the spiral of this archetype. Madness, total mental derangement, a non-functioning being whose only connection to reality is dependency and violence, whether in the case of a mental patient or a political body. But the main point here I want to drive home is that, as I said earlier, wherever Neptune appears, it is an uncertain and nebulous presence. Its truth is only unfolded through time or a lifetime. And you can take that and look at particularly the house placement in your own chart. Dry mouth, break. Okay. So if you have experience working with Neptune in your chart, looking at it, meditating on it, you'll know what I mean. You keep coming back to Neptune and scratching your head. There's going to be some interpretations that you can get a handle on, but it will take a larger role in your life as time goes by in order to express this ideal, this big potential of Neptune. Just a quick rundown of this archetype. I like to use, instead of just rattling off a laundry list of ideas, which is typically what you get when you're dealing with astrology, which leads to a lot of tangents and a lot of confusion, I came up with a simple image to kind of organize all the different themes that come up with any astrological archetype. And I just picture a spiral ascending from a lower reality to a higher reality. And of course, in the lower level, we have the more material, mundane, negative, darker aspects of that archetype. Like for example, what I just mentioned about mental illness, the lower level of that spiral, a complete feeling of being lost in an unreality of some sort, and sort of a hopelessness. There's sort of a lot of sorrow connected with this archetype in that sense. It is a water sign, so it's an emotional archetype. But as we move upwards through that spiral, we have various expressions. For example, like I just said, emotion or a feeling of connection to others or to culture, or higher and higher up to like a connection with the universe. But we have religious formulations. As we get higher, religious practices, meditation, sort of a contemplation of the divine. As we're ascending that, we have artistic activity, artistic works and genres, and particularly music is related to this archetype. And ultimately, we have an experience of union with the divine, or bliss. Therefore, mystical connection or mysticism generally. And even like I said, perhaps the highest is that Christ-like archetype, complete union, a willingness to sacrifice yourself for whatever you consider to be the ultimate, right? Now, Neptune rules Pisces, which is the 12th sign. It's the final sign of the zodiac. So it deals with this final destination, right? And it is a summation of all the prior phases of this universal journey. So it has a totalizing theme. So there's just a lot of things that go into this archetype of Neptune and Pisces. The things I'm going to get into are just so broad and so general, and there's just so much to it. But you can see that it represents some kind of culmination, right? It deals with endings. It's sort of the old man of the zodiac. I want you to remember that. Whereas Aries, the first sign as we start over, is archetypally the infant, the new life beginning in the spring. Sorry for my dry mouth, but my coffee might not be the best way to keep my throat nice and lubricated here. Okay, so another thing you can keep in mind is that we're all different, and we all have a lesser or greater connection to these transpersonal planets, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, that orbit beyond Saturn, the ego. Some of us are not really that attuned or that connected to these larger archetypes. And they kind of operate in different ways. If you're consider yourself a highly religious or spiritual or even artistic person, or even someone deals in the sciences, as far as the biggest, broadest forms of sciences, cosmology, even physics or something, you could have a strong Neptune in your chart. So we're going to take a quick look back at the last time Neptune was in Pisces, which was basically through the 1850s. Now, these were the years that were towards the end of the era of slavery in the United States. If you can kind of harken back a little in your mind to, picture the movie Gone with the Wind, to the antebellum South at that period. And the ongoing condition of slavery for certain people. Um, Quite interesting because remember that bound quality of the symbol of Pisces and that sacrifice theme that goes on. This is an archetype strongly connected to slavery. Again, Neptune in its dignity. And when it transited through there the last time, we had slavery in its like peak stage, right? Right up to the beginning of the Civil War, which is going to be pretty much just as Neptune exits Pisces and enters Aries, the sign of war. Okay, but in that period, we have, looking back, we're going to see, of course, slavery and also like the broadening of the British Empire. One of the things that happened is that the East Indian Company was given total control to the British Parliament in that period, as far as like the dominance of one empire over others. And I'm not going to get into a lot of political stuff, but as far as technological inventions, I think that's interesting that one of the things that came up was a compass that was used for navigating the oceans and the seas, right? But before we look at this period of 2012 to where we are today, just going to give you a little more information about Neptune and Pisces. Of course, we're going to see, or I want you to take a look out for any kind of watery like symbolism that goes on. Okay? Water in all its various forms, really. And oceans, lakes, rivers, tsunamis, um, atmospheric rivers, even fogs and mists and vapors and all these things that kind of obscure our ability to discern the truth. Okay, and also there's going to be a lot of themes of what Neptune has been regarded as the great veiler and unveiler. I don't know if I should just go right into my own personal philosophical ideas that I've been developing about all this, but Neptune, as it relates to the cosmic consciousness or the cosmos itself, being a water sign, this sort of ocean-like quality of the universe itself, and the oceanic feeling that you have when you feel at one with the universe. Neptune, for me, as I've been working with this, has come to represent the thing in itself, as Kant, the philosopher, says, like the noumena, not just the phenomena, what things appear like to us, but the actual truth, the actual reality, i.e. the cosmos itself. Okay? This is tricky because people will talk a lot about illusions and deceptions with Neptune, but remember, it removes the illusion and reveals the truth. So it kind of shows us there's this dual nature to our experience of reality. Again, this is a dualistic sign, the two fishes joined together. Shows you that part of our experience of reality is its deceptive nature, is its unreality. There's a layer of illusion that we have to fight with, or we have to struggle through, we have to contend with in order to get to the truth, to the reality itself. So this is where Neptune and Pisces get this whole connection to illusion and deception. Though some of that, when it's used deliberately, of course, is the lower end of the spiral. Remember, these water signs, As far as they're related to emotion, I believe that they have a lot to do with like moral themes, right? And these have been highly moralistic times that we've been living in, right? A lot of judging and condemnation and high platitudes taken as one group and judges the other and things like that. There's been a lot of that going on because it's that final sign. Is that the final judgment, right? Of your looking back at the entire cycle, at your life's work, your life's deeds. Okay.